What's up, pimps and players? Brofresco here, and today we're looking at the patch 4.1 notes that were released only an hour ago. So patch 4.1 is set to hit live servers soon, and it's the first patch of 2014. So the first thing I want to show you guys, and probably I wouldn't say the most important, but something a lot of you are wondering about, is when is Season 4 starting? Well, they've said Season 4 will be starting in the next few days, as we can see under leagues here. The 2014 ranked season reset will take place within the next few days. We'll have a full list of changes in the patch notes when it happens. So right now we're not in a legitimate season. Season 3's ended, Season 4's on the way. Right now there's no rewards or anything you can get. All you can do is higher or lower your MMR in preparation for the next season. So with that coming in the next few days, everyone's rating will be reset. You'll have probably your 5 or 10 placement matches, but your MMR will stay the same, and that will determine how high you get put after the win and losers of your placement matches. So that's great that Season 4 is finally here. Anyway, taking a look at probably, I'd say, the next most important thing, which is the champion changes. So as we have a look down here, we've got Anivia, Evelynn, Jinx, Rengar, Shyvana, Yasuo, Annie, Janna, Nasus, Riven, and Thresh. A lot of quote-unquote broken champions, so we're just going to go through them. And Anivia, they've given her a little buff. This has been coming for a while. They just didn't think she was strong enough, so go ahead and take a look at the different buffs and nerfs they've been given. Annie, obviously a very strong support at the moment, considered overpower. So Tibbers did get reduced, so the cooldown on Tibbers was reduced, but the duration on the stun was nerfed, so a bit of balancing changes there. Evelynn has been very I guess overpowered with the nerfs to vision, no oracles, vision wards being able to be taken down, her being stealth for the majority of the time, or she can be in stealth permanently, makes her extremely strong. You can't really ward against her unless you buy an extra 35 gold worth of wards, which can also be taken down. So Evelynn really makes you just play a completely different gameplay. So nerfs to her missile speed was reduced a lot. Damage from E changed to physical, so her AP won't scale as well. And then her ultimate does now grant her a shield instantly, which is a bit of a buff. Janna somehow got it changed a little bit there. Not too much wrong with Janna, she wasn't overpowered at all. Now moving on to Jinx, someone who was very overpowered at this point in time. So her base health was reduced, but her health per level was increased, so it's kind of iffy. Her biggest change was to her E, where the aim time was increased, and the reduced damage on her flame chompers as well. Now Nasus has had a bunch of nerfs. We're looking at Nasus. His wither range was already reduced. His wither range has been reduced, but the slow on it was also reduced previously. Now they've reduced the range on it as well, and his ultimate, you can't get the increased range for your Q ability now. So huge nerfs to Nasus because he's just been extremely strong. Now there's nerfs to Rengar as well. He's been extremely strong at the top lane with the triple Q and the absolute crazy split push potentially has for killing towers. Not to mention the triple Q assassination, which is crazy. So Savagery base attack, the speed buff he gets reduced to 2 seconds from 6 seconds. And they fixed the triple Q bug apparently. Now W, they changed the heal again. Rengar's always being changed. Moving on to Riven, someone who's been deemed completely broken by a lot of people and has been stomping through lower elos and higher elos if you've been watching a lot of pro streams. Anyway, they've pretty much done quite a bit to Riven. Her base AD was reduced, and her AD per level was increased, so it's not as strong from the get-go. She takes a bit more time to amp up. The damage on her Q was just flat out just nerfed completely. So that's gonna make a lot less damage coming from her Q, so she's going to be more focused on autos, I guess, whatever. And her shield duration reduced to 1.5 seconds from 2.5 seconds. Very good. The main problem, or one of the main problems with Riven, is she can go full AD, and then from that AD she'll get a huge shield on E, and the shield lasts a long time. After you've pressed E, it lasts 2.5 seconds, and I mean, after 2.5 seconds, your E's almost back up again, so it's almost a constant shield. It's ridiculous, combined with the mobility. So the shield being reduced by a flat second is very strong. So you can just wait till after she E's, you'll just wait 1.5 seconds, then you can unleash your burst and stomp her. Unless she's already stomped you, but her damage being reduced, that's good. Moving on to Shyvana, deemed extremely strong at the moment as well. Just you farm her up, then you jump in with your doubled resistances, which is crazy. So Shyvana does have huge base damage, that's why you can build her completely tanky and still do a lot of damage. So for that, they've reduced her damage per second on her W burnout, which was the main problem because even though she's AD, the base damage is AP on burnout, so it just mixed damage and it was really hard to build against her. So the minimum magic damage reduced, maximum magic damage reduced, damage per second reduced, flat out nerfs. The damage reduced at earlier levels on her E, Flame Breath, and also ultimate. Oh no, damage on her ultimate now correctly matches the tooltip, so nothing changing on her ultimate, just on her burnout and flame breath. Now Thresh, deemed an extremely overpowered support because Thresh just has amazing crowd control. He has a hook, he has something that can throw you away or pull you towards, he can activate the hook to engage or not. He has his lantern, which is like a flash for AD carry, or for your whole team really. It's ridiculous, plus the shield. Then he has his ultimate, which can completely zone enemies in a team fight and has a 99% slow. That is ridiculous. So his lantern now shows indicated particles better or something, so no changes to his lantern, but changes to the box. Delay on wall formation increased to 0.75 from 0.5, so a 0.25 second nerf to his ultimate. That's barely anything really, that's barely anything. The main change has been with his lantern. It was hard to click on his lantern if someone else was standing on top of it, so apparently they've changed that. Changes to Yasuo, didn't really think Yasuo was overpowered. I mean, he requires a really good team, or a team composition that suits him to be used most effectively, but he is a very strong duelist, but remember, he has no escape, so it's kind of given a bit, give a bit, take a bit sort of thing. So anyway, the changes, general now properly applies 10% critical strike damage reduction to static shift critical hits, so apparently that was a bug. Improve the functionality of his E sweeping blade to Q Tempest combo, which is when he jumps in Qs at the same time, it turns into an AoE instead of a single line. So anyway, the changes to Q, all casts are now automatically smart cast. Interesting. W no longer blocks friendly Syndra orbs, good, and his ultimate now grants maximum flow on cast that will give him the shield as soon as he casts it, making him a bit more tankier because he does need to jump into the fight when he uses that. Spell animation shortened by 0.1 seconds, so I think that means less of a stun on the enemy. Now less likely to be teleported out of by enemies spamming flash. Okay, interesting. And now probably alerts spectators and allies when it's on cooldown. Good, so just pretty much bug fixes to Yasuo, no real changes to him in terms of balancing overpowered, underpowered. Anyway, now there's a bunch of minor changes and bug fixes. You guys can go ahead and check them out for yourselves. I'll leave the link in the description box below. The only real other thing that's, well, I mean, they've changed a bunch of items in Summoner's Rift, a bunch of items in Crystal Scar and Twisted Treeline. Most notably, they've removed Infinity Edge from Twisted Treeline. Very interesting. Some changes to Howling Abyss for the Arams and Crystal Scar again, and then all three of the changes put together, and some changes to the new player experience. So the changes to the items, well, anyway, Rabadon's death cap, they posted this on Reddit. It was kind of funny. They wanted the AP scaling to be shown, and now it is. Spirit Visage was nerfed because that was deemed, and Sunfire Cape also nerfed because they were deemed really strong on the top laners, you know, most notably Shyvana, Mundo, etc. Plus the fact that defense masteries are deemed OP, that's why it's just a complete tank meta top. Now the thing Riot does a lot is they nerf the champion and nerf the items, when in reality they only need to nerf one of the two, and it causes the champion to be completely killed. So hopefully we don't see that, as we see they are nerfing Sunfire and Spirit Visage, and they're nerfing Shyvana, and she uses both of these items, so hopefully we don't see Shyvana just completely nerfed to the ground, because they have done it before. Anyway, we'll just take a quick look at the jungle items. So some changes to Spirit Stone and the three things that it does build into. So they made it apparently they like the Spirit of Spectral Race healing passive, so they decided to make it a stable passive on every spirit item. So no longer has health or mana regen, no longer has a main passive. It now gives 8% of damage dealt to monsters as health and 4% as mana. So this is very interesting. I didn't know about this, so that's I think will be a good change for sustain, especially to junglers that do high amounts of damage, because they will end up with high amounts of health and mana. So interesting change. Change to the Summoner's Rift. Now With these changes, they wanted to tackle 2v1 lane swaps. You know, you've seen a lot of them in pro games. So what they've done is outer turrets no longer gain bonus armor and magic resist for the first 8 minutes of the game. Top and middle lane outer turrets now have 20 damage reduction from champion basic attacks. So normally bot lane is the support and AD carry against another support and AD carry. With a lot of times they've been changing the lane, sending the bot and the support and AD carry tops to 2v1 and vice versa. With these changes, now the mid and top turrets have bonus defenses, so it's much harder for them to get, because in a 2v1 lane it's really easy to get that early turret. So now that the turrets are tankier, it's going to be harder to get, less likely to swap the lanes. Apparently they want to enforce the meta of not swapping lanes, which is kind of weird, but at the same time, whatever, it's your game. So apart from that, you've just got a lot of changes to the Crystal Scar, Howling Abyss, Twisted Tree Line, you know, definitely not played anywhere near as much as Summoner's Rift. But the last thing we're going to take a look at is the new player experience, which I haven't checked out. So we've introduced a stable roster of free champions for new players to play. Our goal is to improve the way players learn League of Legends when they're first starting out. These champions were picked because of how easy they can be learned and how enjoyable most new players find them. So instead of when you create a new account just being able to play what's free to play for that week because you haven't bought any champions yet, now there's a bunch of champions that you'll be able to play regardless, and they are deemed easy to play. Probably champions such as Annie, Garen, Jin Zhao, these sort of easier to play champions that are also older champions and quite not that expensive in terms of IP. So that's a nice change for new players. So anyway guys, those are the patch 4.1 notes described to you by the one and only Gold 4 Bro Fresco. So you know, go and take a look at them in more detail if you have anything else that interests you. I tried to keep it brief to keep the video from going for 200 minutes. We ended up at around 12 minutes, so not too bad. These are some nice changes, fixing some great problems that we've been having. So I think League after this patch will be in a very balanced position, one of the most balanced positions it's been in for a long time. So I'm really happy with where League's heading at the moment. You guys should be too. Hope you enjoy patch 4.1 when it hits, and can't wait for that season 4, babies. Oh yeah.